On November 4th, 1922, an archaeologist digging in northern Egypt discovered the tomb of King Tut. I don't know how to say his full last name, we'll just go with King Tut. And according to Hummel architects, that discovery in the early 20s resulted in the third Egyptian revival in the Western world, inspiring architectural designs of banks, monuments, and theaters. Theaters like the Egyptian Theater in downtown Boise. But the Egyptian has gone through a revival of its own throughout the years. We want to tell you all about it in this week's 208 Redial. When you think about Boise, Idaho, what are the places that make Boise? The river, the blue, the state capitol. The tapestry is rich, but some places sticking out more than others.
I've loved this building my entire life, and now I get to talk about it when I talk about historic places in Boise.
The Egyptian Theater, right in the heart of Boise.
My name's Dan Everhart. I work for the Idaho State Historic Preservation Office. I'm the outreach historian.
The historian Everhart explains, Egyptian aesthetic was all the rage when the Egyptian Theater was first built in 1927.
It was meant as an escapist experience for folks who were looking for something new to entertain them. And don't forget the air conditioning, which was unusual in Boise at the time. So this was unlike any other place that you would have been. And certainly I, as a child, as an adult, experience that magic every time I'm here.
But why the Egyptian decor in Boise, Idaho?
The building exists in this shape with this design because of the discovery of King Tut's tomb in 1922 and the resulting craze for Egyptian style and design that followed.
As the 1930s passed, Egyptian architecture became passé. The theater in Boise and others like it around the country began to see changes.
This theater itself was sort of whitewashed, literally, to remove some of the elements of Egyptian style and make it more modern. And of course, this is the American way. We get enamored with something for a little while. It's a craze, it's a trend, and then we move on, and we tend to forget about and sometimes actively seek to throw away.
The Egyptian Theater became known as the Fox and later the Ada Theater in the 1940s. Fast forward to the 1970s, the building finally returned to the Egyptian moniker, being placed on the National Register of Historic Places on November 21, 1974. The building became a target, though, for demolition as development of downtown Boise continued in the 1970s. In 1977, the fate of the building eventually landed in the hands of Earl Hardy.
I'm Kay Hardy, and I'm the daughter of Earl Hardy, the man who was responsible for the preservation of the theater when he purchased it in 1977 when it was scheduled for demolition through the Urban Renewal Agency.
Kay remembers the drastic difference between the building now and its form in 1977, and also the personal risk her father took with a personal bank loan.
When Dad purchased it, the lobby was whitewashed. The exterior of the building had been painted white, so there was no color, there was no decoration. We didn't have a tenant for the building, and Dad came back to the office and said, I must be crazy, but I just couldn't stand the destruction of downtown.
Hardy saved the Egyptian Theater from becoming a historical note, instead working through the end of the 1970s with Hummel architects to repair and restore the building. Fast forward another 20 years, Kay Hardy and her now husband, architect Gregory Kaslow, they worked on an extensive restoration again of the Egyptian in 1999.
Well, it was an interesting building. The ceiling was thoroughly corroded, for example. So one of my first impressions was looking in here and looking at all the holes in the ceiling, all the rust stains, and so it was kind of a mess.
So at that time, Dad had a lease with a national movie chain, and they would not shut down their movies for Dad to be able to repair the roof. And so the roof deteriorated, and he was not able to work on repairing the roof until the National Theater chain terminated the lease.
So when I became involved, it was just a matter of slowly dealing with one thing after another until we could actually stage a formal restoration in 1999.
The Egyptian was brought into the 21st century with a fresh look, ready for the new millennium.
this is unique to Boise, and that uniqueness is important, and the character that it gives to the city is incredibly significant. So take this away, and you rip out a piece of Boise's soul. I don't think we could survive exactly the same way as Boiseans without the Egyptian theater.
The 2000s brought new cinema and shows to the Egyptian theater, remaining a beloved, unique energy just down the road from the Idaho State Capitol. The new millennium, though, came to a screaming halt in 2020, a global pandemic, a time where all theaters became a place not to go. But that opened the door for another Egyptian aesthetic development.
I don't think we ever discussed it. We just went right into it.
The process has been invigorating, I would say. I'm not saying that it didn't come without hassles, but it's been invigorating because of the commitment to the theater and actually the commitment to the community. And the fact that we've had young children come in here on tours and then for events, and I remember this one young girl, and she said, "I have never seen anything so beautiful. I didn't know anything like this existed."
Kay, what do you think makes a building meaningful to people?
I think that something unique helps people understand the uniqueness of culture. And so history is embedded in a building, as it was when this was constructed in 1927, and as it is today with its current renovation. But I think when everything in life, or so much of life, becomes the same without differentiation or without uniqueness, I think that it's more difficult for people to see. I think that beauty and something unique are important elements of a person's ability to learn about history and learn about culture.
And just yesterday, Boise's pioneer chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, they honored the owners of the Egyptian movie theater, the Hardys, with the Historic Preservation Award. We'll take you there. A ceremony was held at the theater. Pamela Wright with the Daughters of the American Revolution says that the Egyptian theater was an obvious choice for the recognition.
We mark historic buildings all around the nation, and as we're coming up on the 250th anniversary of our nation, it's more important than ever for all communities to mark the special places within their own towns and cities. And of course, this is an incredibly important location for Boise.
You might have just seen him in the background and right there. Governor Little was there. He proclaimed May 9th, 2024 as Earl Hardy Family Day in Idaho. That proclamation was in recognition of what he calls the tireless efforts by the Hardy family to purchase, revitalize, and maintain the Egyptian theater for the last 47 years. The Egyptian theater hosts a slew of events, including movies, concerts, speakers, and much more. You can find out more on our website. We'll be back.